Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 30th of January, comes to you from London. And we're seeing still markets pretty mixed. The US market was down yesterday. The dollar still just struggling on the short-term chart, so we do have these downside targets, but medium-long term still looking pretty good. The euro is looking still holding its strength against the dollar, and against the yen, we're seeing that dollar weakening. Japanese yen being a good global indicator for moves to safe haven. Sterling selling off a little bit against the dollar after last night's vote puts us back into bearish territory. So we do have upside targets, one as high as 136 against the dollar, but we now have this 130 target. So we look like we're just going to fall back now. And against the euro, we're seeing sterling also reversing and in bearish territory. Against the Swiss franc, we're also bearish, and against the Aussie dollar, also a sharp turn down there as well. Bitcoin is actually up 0.7%, but still looking pretty much in the doldrums. The US stock market last night, the S&P 500 index, just teetering lower, just holding on to its short-term bull trend, but the Nasdaq 100 index actually moving below the cloud. So we're seeing the US stocks just starting to look like they're going to retreat and hitting some resistance on the cloud on the medium term chart. The Dow Jones index actually looking stronger, just holding on to its bull trend, but again, it's just hitting resistance on the cloud. So the market's interesting crunch point here. And the Russell 2000, the broader based index, also just hanging on as well. The futures this morning, little change in the S&P. The Nasdaq E-mini up 0.6%. So we might see a little bit of respite in today's session. The FTSE 100 index is up 0.5% this morning, so looking stronger there, and mid caps fairly flat. If we look at the DAX, we're seeing here as well. We're just holding on to our bull trend. CAC Current also looking a little bit better. Japan down on the stronger yen. That's having an impact on Japanese stocks, but on the whole, we're still holding on to the bull trend just. And if we look at the Hang Seng Index, it's also holding on to its resurgence, and the medium term chart, one of the better looking charts globally. The the Shanghai Index down 0.7%, not enough to break the short-term trend. Watch for this target here being activated, but we do still have a plethora of downside targets for China, which have hung over us now for quite some time. China's still the worry. The Indian market actually just unwinding a little bit here as well, up this morning, but still looking short-term bearish. And the Aussie market actually up 0.2%, just holding its bull trend. Brent crude got back above $61 yesterday, so we're just wandering back into short-term bullish territory. And WTI also just trying to get back above, but yet to manage it. US nat gas sitting at $2.86. Hard to believe we're nudging $4 just over a month ago, so it's really falling away now. Got quite big downside targets here. Gold really pushing higher yesterday, nudging new highs. Not seen since July. We're now really looking very bullish. Shortage of short-term upside targets, which does make the gold chart difficult to read. The 1-minute chart has about 13.15 as a target, and that's where we've been. So we will need to wait for a pullback to give us a new thrust target, but for the moment gold is looking extremely bullish, and that long-term chart now really starting to look bullish. If we break 13.50 on gold, which we've been saying for a long time, then the sky's the limit. We've got a lot of big upside targets there. Silver also moving to July highs, and US 10-year yields just sitting lower at 2.7%. This data all coming to you from Thomson Reuters Icon or Metastock Zenith. It's the same data, so a really powerful system here. My long-term, my medium-term, and my short-term charts. Looking at Yahoo data, this is free from Yahoo Finance. We have, interestingly, we see we've got some big performances on Nasdaq yesterday, despite the falls. Paco is up 5%. And if we look at the downside, we also did have some quite big downside targets as well. So looking at the bellwethers, we've got Apple down 1%, um, and Facebook were down 2%, so still heading lower there. Google and Amazon also down. Amazon down 2.7%, Google down 1%. So still the tech majors are falling, and that's one we've just got to keep an eye on. The Aussie market this morning, looking at the best performances, Bellamy's of Australia up 9%. They haven't quite turned the corner yet, but looking better there. Fortescue Metals Group, they're looking much better and starting to break through on the long-term chart. Rio Tinto, the Aussie quoted vehicle, also pushing new highs. So we're seeing resource stocks really looking much better, although not across the board. Sierra Resources down 13% in Oz. Um, Taking a look at China, we mentioned that there was some pretty. You can see here a lot more fallers than gainers. Not massively down, 2% down on the worst performers, but a handful of strong performers there. And looking at the Nifty 50 in India, uh, we see Axis Bank here up 5%, ICI Bank up 5%, Tata Steel up 4%, but none of these enough to really breach these trends. And here we see the live prices coming in from Yahoo. India Bulls Housing down 4.8%. Their woes continue, looking to make new lows there. Taking a look at the European markets, of course, we've just opened on Europe's FTSE 100 index this morning. Just looking, Rio Tinto up 2.8%, BHP also up 2.2%, Anglo American, Glencore, all of these stocks really leading. Anglo American just nudging to make new all-time highs. So they've really taken the market in their stride, outperforming the Dow by 20%, so they're quite significant. And lots of upside targets, as much as 32% higher. So today is really the day for resource stocks in the FTSE. Micro Focus Group up to nearly 2%. And we're seeing tobacco stocks up again this morning. BATS and Imperial Brands up higher. Everaz, Mondi, again, more resource stocks in the list. Looking at the downside, it's Royal Bank of Scotland, Barclays. So we're seeing a theme here of banks down, and banks and financials, Prudential down as well. So Lloyd's, Legal and General. So we're seeing financials just really struggling. Again, London Stock Exchange, Standard Life, Aberdeen. A lot of these stocks in quite severe downtrends. Taking a look at the Euro Stock 600, just quickly this morning, we see here Altos in Paris up 8%, Alten up 6%. That's obviously helping the Paris index. LVMH up 5.5%. So the top three performers in Paris. Then Covestro in Germany, and two more in Paris. So we really are seeing the French stocks leading the board this morning. On the downside, we've got Lonza Group down 7%. They've spiked up and spiked back down, quite interesting. And Svenska Kaluska down 4%, and now just coming under pressure on that long-term chart. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.